Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Communication 1. This is the makeup class for Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Today's just going to be a short makeup video where I take a quick look at the homework, give you some feedback on your speaking so far. I'm going to go over the lesson that I would normally do with you in class, but we don't have a chance to because of the opening mass. And then I'm going to give you your homework assignment, which you will have to complete and then upload to CyberCampus by Monday, 11:59 p.m. Okay, so let's get down to it very quickly. So a quick homework review. Thank you very much for uploading your homework to Kakao I've checked all of that. Just in case you're wondering what the correct answers were, if you don't have access to an answer sheet, I'll quickly go through these very quickly. So on page 7, I asked you to do exercise B. These are the correct answers for 1 to 10. Number 1, F. Number 2, I. Number 3, B. Number 4, D. Number 5, A. Number 6, E. Number 7, G. Number 8, C. Number 9, J. Number 10, H. For exercise C, asking you to circle the main idea of the article. The correct answer for that, of course, was D. When small talk is done correctly, it can improve people's social and professional lives. For exercise D, you had to read the statements and then write either T or F for true or false. Number 1 is true. Number 2 is true. Number 3 is true. Number 4 is true. Number 5 is true. Number 6 is false, although I would personally say it should be true that you should never ask new people details about their family. I would say that's actually something that's not a very good idea, but according to the textbook, that's false. Number 7, that is true. Number 8, that is false. For the last exercise there, exercise E, read these sentences from reading number 1 and then answer the question. Number 1, who does they refer to? Strangers. Number 2, what does it refer to? Small talk. Number 3, who does they refer to? That's new people. Number 4, it could create a negative impression and possibly end the conversation. That's doing all the talking or saying something offensive. And number 5, it makes you appear honest and builds trust, making eye contact. And then number 6, they might not have enough confidence to start up conversation with strangers. Those are people who shy away from small talk. I also asked you to, for your last homework, to read this paragraph here, how to annoy coworkers, and then to complete the questions on page 20. So how many sentences are there in the paragraph? There are 12 sentences. The paragraph gives 3 ways to make a bad impression on your coworkers. What are these 3 subtopics? Number 1, speaking loudly on the phone. Number 2, taking the last coffee. And number 3, leaving your cell phone on. The paragraph uses reasons to support the subtopics. What reason explains why a ringing tone may cause people to make mistakes? Well, that's because it disturbs the quiet that people need in order to do their work. Number 5, what is the concluding sentence? Well, the concluding sentence is the last sentence in the paragraph. Finding your dream job may take a lot of time and effort, but unfortunately, leaving a bad impression on your coworkers can be done quickly and easily. For the second part here, this is exercise B. I want you to read the paragraph about making new friends, and then you're supposed to look at the different sentences and then fill in the blanks. So I'll go through this. Number 1 is C. There are several ways to make new friends. That is the topic sentence of the paragraph. First, if you go to school, you can make new friends in class. Come early so that you have time to meet other people before class starts, and do not try to sit by yourself. Instead, sit next to another student and use small talk to start a conversation. Next, A, find a shared interest or talk about what's around you, like your school or your teacher. Soon you will discover what you have in common and your new friendship can develop. Another great place to make new friends is at work. You and your coworkers will already have many things in common to talk about. D, for example, you could talk about your boss or your customers. If your friendship develops, you might even hang out, which will give you something to look forward to after you finish work. Making new friends is not always easy, but with a little effort, you can build friendships with the people around you, and in the process, you may even find your new best friend. All right, so okay, great. So thank you very much for doing your homework. Now I'd like to give you a quick bit of feedback. Over the last couple of classes, I've been listening while you were talking with your partners, especially our second class when we had some discussion questions and icebreakers. And I made note of a few common errors that some students made when they were talking in small groups. So here are some of the errors in your grammar and certain awkward expressions that I heard. And I'll also like to give you some possible solutions to these problems and how you could fix your expressions. So someone had said, my high school is nearby mountain. Now, nearby should be used before a noun as an adjective, or it could be used after a noun as an adverb, so that you could say something like, the beach is nearby. Near, however, is used as a preposition, and that states the proximity of something to something else, like there is a beach near my house. So in order to fix this, I came up with 3 possible alternatives. You could say my high school is near a mountain. If you're talking about an episode in the past, something that happened, and you want to keep a focus on the fact that this is not present time, you could say my high school was near a mountain. Yes, your high school is still near a mountain now, but there is an argument to be made that using the past tense would keep it more consistent. Now, if your high school is actually very close to Sogang University, then you could just say my high school is nearby, meaning that it is close to wherever you are when you're speaking. I also heard someone ask one of their partners, then why you choose your major? And I think in this case, it sounds like the person had chosen a major that's not very well suited to them. For example, they chose a math-based major, but they don't like math, or they're not particularly good at it. If you want to correct this sentence, you could change it to, why did you choose that as your major? Make sure you have the auxiliary did there. Why did you choose that as your major? Or, so why did you choose that as your major then? Both of these would be fine. But remember, if you're going to ask about why someone chose a major, especially if there's something odd about it, make sure you include the did. Yeah, why did you choose? That's very important for keeping the expression grammatically correct. One of the male students in our class was talking about their plans for military service, something that every young man has to go through. And the student said, I want to go military 1 year later. This sentence has 2 small problems. The first one is you need the preposition to. I want to go to the military, or I want to go to the army. When we use later, this is usually when you're talking about something that has happened after something in the past. Like, for example, I graduated from high school and then went to the army 6 months later. So going to the army after graduating from high school, that happened in the past too. If I'm talking about a future event, it's not likely that I would use later in that case. You could say, I want to go to the army next year, or I plan to start my military service next year, or I'm thinking about going to the army next year. And all of those are better substitutes for later. Another student was asked about how often they watch movies, and the student said, I don't watch that much movies. And I think what they meant to say was, I don't watch that many movies, or I don't watch many movies, or if you're not really interested in watching movies, it's not really one of your favorite hobbies, you can use the preposition into. I'm not really into movies. I'm not into that. Or you could say watching movies isn't really my thing. If something isn't your thing, then it means it's something that you're not very interested in. There may be another expression using a more current slang, but you'll have to find that out on your own. One student mentioned that they had to take a taxi. The student said, "Today I almost late, so I used taxi." And I can understand exactly what the student intended to say, but there are a couple of small problems with this sentence. I would change this into one of three possible substitutes. Number one, I was almost late today, so was almost late today, so I grabbed a taxi. Now, in this sentence, you'll notice I don't start with today. And I think this is because in Korean, it's normal to start off by stating the time, like 오늘은, today, and then you say what happened. In English, it's fine if you put that a little bit later in the sentence. So in this case, towards the end of the first clause. I was almost late today, comma, so I grabbed a taxi. Now, of course, you don't grab a taxi with your hand, but when you catch a taxi or hail a taxi or call a taxi, we often will use the verb grab. I had to catch a taxi because I was almost late today. Okay, in this case, I put today at the very end of the sentence, and please notice that I don't require a comma in the middle of the sentence to break it up. Number three, you could also say, I missed the bus, so I got a Kakao taxi. I would have been late if I waited for the next bus. So you can see there are three different verbs that I've used here to talk about taxis: to grab a taxi, to catch a taxi, or to get a taxi. And all three of these are fine. And this one here, this is a very common error that even native speakers sometimes make. One student said, "I don't like that," and another student said, "Me too." Now, although this is quite common, I do have to point out that it is actually incorrect. When you say, "I like something," which is a positive statement, then you would say, "Me too." But if you say a negative statement, for example, "I don't like something," then you would say, "Me neither." And that's one of the more common mistakes that I see students make. So if it's a positive thing, like I like something, I think that's good. Oh, me too. I also like that. I also think that's good. But if you don't like it and you want to agree or you want to express empathy, you have the same feeling, you would say, "Me neither." Okay, and with that out of the way, I'd like to now start our lesson proper. I want to talk a little bit about high school, which some people might call the good old days. For a number of students in our class, high school is not actually very far in the past. Many of you have just graduated recently. In that case, it's not too far away. Now, just to think back to my old days back when I was in school, if I was to think of 5 words that maybe described my high school life, I might include words like dishwasher, activity, friends, cafeteria, and what would be another one? Smoking. I'll throw in smoking because I was a smoker. Now, I think each of these words says something important about my high school experience. Dishwasher, because when I was a high school student, I had a part-time job as a dishwasher. So sometimes I had to leave right after school and then go to a restaurant and then work until late at night in order to make some extra money. Activities. One thing that was really common in my high school were students were engaged in some kind of activity. Some students were interested in sports, and so they played on the school sports teams. Other students were interested in theater, so they were involved in plays and musicals. That's what I was interested in. Other students were interested in various other activities, but most people were interested in something. people did school work, but it wasn't really the focus, the sole focus of their life. So in this lesson, if we were in class right now, I would probably ask you, what was your life like in high school? And I would ask you to think of 5 words that describe your high school life, and then take each of those words and then put it into a sentence. And each sentence would use one of those words. Today, this question, what was your life like in high school? You could choose this as one of your participation homework questions. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. You can choose this question, or you could choose one of the following questions. My second question here is, does high school prepare you for life outside of school? Try to see both sides, think of reasons yes or reasons no. This is an interesting question. People spend a lot of time in school, and those last 3 years, the final part of your public school life before you graduate, does it prepare you for what comes outside of school? Yes or no? Next, what should everyone learn in high school that most schools don't teach? This is another question I like to get students to ask. There are many things that students do study in high school, but most students think, you know what, I really wish we were studying something else, maybe something that the school doesn't teach. Well, what is something that you think everyone should learn in high school that most schools don't teach, and why? Here's another interesting one. Different types of learning. Generally speaking, there are 3 different types of learning. There is skills-based learning, fact-based learning, and idea-based learning. So skills-based learning, that's instructions, like how to do something, some sort of practical use. If you learn how to cook a pizza, or how to change a tire, or how to do something, that's a skill-based lesson. Fact-based lessons, on the other hand, are basically memorizing lots of facts, people, places, events, dates, formulas, lists of data. And finally, number 3, this is idea-based learning. And this is covering topics like philosophy, ideology, critical thinking. Now, some schools focus more on one than the other. I'd like to know what you think is most important for high school. Should students be focusing on learning skills? Should they be focused on memorizing facts? Or should they be learning about ideas? So you could rank these from most important, number 1, to least important, and explain your opinion. Finally, in your final year of high school, how many hours of sleep did you get each day? I love asking this question because I get a wide variety of answers from different students. Some students only slept 3 hours a day. They were busy studying the whole time. Other students somehow managed to get 6, 7, even 8 hours of sleep a night. It really does depend on the student. Did you study more than you slept, or did you sleep more than you studied? Did you get more sleep at home than at school, or did you get more sleep at school than at home? I've heard many stories about students spending a fair amount of their school day asleep. Okay, so that's another question. You could also talk about high school. If we were doing this lesson in class, I might ask you to discuss some of the following questions, like, what was the best experience you had in high school? Was it a social experience? Did you have a great class? Was it something else? Did you take part in any special or unusual classes? Do you think that your high school was too focused on tests? Who is your favorite teacher and why? And when did you go home, on average, each day? So what time did your school finish, and what time would you arrive home? Did you go to many after-school academies or after-school programs? All right. So I'm going to now come to the homework section of the lecture. So very quickly for homework, I would like you to read Organizing and Developing a Paragraph, Part 2, and also read the writing model, Fixing a Negative Impression, and then complete the outline. This is on pages 21 and 22. So I'll just show it to you. Can't really see it very well there. So on page 21, there is a little blurb that says Writing Skill, Part 2, Organizing and Developing a Paragraph. This is quite similar to what I talked about in class last time. And then there's a writing model called Fixing a Negative Impression. You might notice that all of the different model paragraphs we've looked at, I took the topic sentence and I used them in our last class. Okay, so far you've looked at 3 different sample paragraphs. How to annoy your coworkers, that's on page 19. Making new friends, that's on page 20. And then this one, now I'm asking you to read Fixing a Negative Impression. That's on page 21. And then you can do the outline on page 22. After doing this, you should now have a very good grasp of basic paragraph structure, starting with the topic sentence, which is the main idea, clearly says what you're going to talk about for the rest of your paragraph, and then your supporting sentences, which will have your reasons, examples, and details, each explored separately, and then a concluding sentence at the end that just restates what you said in your topic sentence, just in slightly different words. Okay, so now I want to tell you about your participation homework. So because we don't have the opportunity to actually have our class discussion today, here's what I'd like you to do. After you watch this video, I want you to choose one of those discussion questions. So making 5 sentences about your high school experience, or talking about what your favorite part of your high school life was, or do you think high school prepares students for life outside of school? Take one of those questions, answer it in about 5 sentences, and then leave your answer in the comment section. And then I can go down and check which students have left a comment there. Please do that before our next class, which will be next week. By the way, just a quick note, you don't need to like the video. You don't need to subscribe to the channel. Just watch the video, choose one of the discussion questions from this lecture, and then leave your answer in about 5 sentences below the video in the comment section. Okay, and now here's actually the real homework that I wanted you to do. This is your first writing assignment. I would like you to write a well-structured paragraph. So following the writing models on pages 21, 20, and 19. So I would like you to write a paragraph about 15 sentences. And I want your topic to be about high school in general, or your high school experience in particular. So you could give tips on how to do something well, or how to avoid a social or academic disaster. You could tell me your opinion about high school life, or an aspect of high school life, and give your reasons for your opinion. You could describe what you liked or disliked most about your high school life. The important thing is you follow the basic structure that I've laid out in the lecture. Be sure to include a title at the top. Remember to capitalize it correctly. Begin with your topic sentence, end with your concluding sentence. Include at least 2 supporting ideas, plus details. And then please submit on CyberCampus. Please do not attach a separate file. Let me state that again. Do not attach a separate file. Simply copy and paste it into the text box. That's it. Do not attach a separate file. The deadline is 11:59 p.m., March 17th, and that will be all. So Before I let you go, just a couple of common mistakes that I'd like you to watch out for. No title at the top. So if your professor asks you for a title, make sure you include a title. So not including a title, very common mistake. Number two, maybe the title is not correctly capitalized, or there are too many or too few sentences. Remember, I asked for about 15 sentences. So try to keep it between 14 and 16. If you write 10 sentences, that's not enough. If you write 100 sentences, that's too much. Yeah, don't write a paragraph for each idea. One paragraph only. It's not an essay. I just want a single 15-sentence paragraph. Make sure you start each sentence on a new line. Remember not to use weak supporting ideas. Your ideas should be the main ones. Make sure your details are well suited to the supporting ideas. And don't forget to include a concluding sentence. So here are some pieces of advice for getting the title right. Remember to capitalize the first and the last word, as well as nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, subordinate conjunctions. But lowercase, or somunja, for articles or prepositions. So here are some examples. Like my life in high school, the in should not have a capital letter. The best day of my life in high school, capital O, capital I. High school is boring and useless. Yeah, keep your... Oh, hold on. Actually, I would definitely make that. There you go. Boring and useless. By the way, I think that was actually a title which a student submitted for homework. What high school really teaches us, you can see how the capitalization works in each title. Use these as a guide. Another one. This is not a paragraph, and probably the most common writing mistake I get from students. Let me state again. This piece of text you see right now, this is not a paragraph. This is a paragraph. This is not a paragraph. This is a paragraph, and this is the style, the format that I want you to write in. One single paragraph. Okay. Oh, by the way, here's a quick grammar mistake that I sometimes notice too. When you start a new job, you can leave a bad impression on your new coworkers very quickly without even realizing it. Because the workplace can be fast-paced and stressful, it can be easy to forget the people around you. You'll notice here the sentence starts with because, and then there's a period after stressful. This is called a sentence fragment. If a sentence begins with because, then it needs to have two parts, a subordinate clause and a regular clause. So you need to have the first part, because, and then have a comma, and then the second part would come after the comma. Don't put a period. Okay, here are a few other common mistakes which I've noticed. Yeah, in particular, Naver translation, word salad, and if the paragraph is full of ChatGPT style writing. By the way, I've put a link down below there, 8 common ChatGPT phrases which you must avoid. I do know that this tool is out there, and I don't encourage students to use it for this assignment. And just to let you know, there are certain things that I will be looking for in your writing. So please take this list to heart, and I look forward to reading your first paragraph. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to the end of the lecture. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, please remember to put them in the group chat on Kakao Work so everybody can get the same information. And then I will see everybody next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.